Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 252. I trust you're all doing well. You're kind of quiet this week, so hope that means you're out there in the great outdoors with your camera, making amazing images that you're going to share with me and everybody else in the really near future. I want to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com, for making the Moose Podcast possible. Those great folks got to spend a little time with Robert and gang there at the Tulsa store. Makes me appreciate what they do and how they help me just that much more by putting a face to the name. Even though I met Robert in the past, it's still good to see him, and they do great stuff. So when you need things, hey, these are the folks, okay? Yeah, I know. You save money using that special discount, MOOSE, but you also get just as a real cool satisfaction knowing you asked a question, you got the straight answer that you know is going to help move your photography forward. That's just the beauty at Bedford's Camera. So bedfords.com, whether you call them, email them, website, use that Moose discount, save yourself real money. Get yourself your gear when you need it. When you need it, the right stuff. Bedfords.com. Thank you, guys. I'm going to get right into this week's podcast. Fail. Unsure. Pass. Hopefully you looked at that and you wondered, what the hey was this one about? Well, right now I am just finished going through for just my two categories, 1,600, not one, not two, but 1,600 images for the BirdLife Australia Photography Awards. There's some incredibly gorgeous stuff, just beautiful images that I got to see. And then there's other images that's like, what was the photographer thinking? And in this process of going through it, I went through them all. You have three possible, as a judge, ways of rating that photograph. Fail, unsure, and pass. After I went through that process, I went through my own images from this past weekend. Went to a great event in Three Forks, Montana. There's a fly-in at what you might think is a small airport, because it is. And it has some amazing aircraft, even more amazing folks there. I'm going through my own images, and I'm thinking about this process I just went through for the BirdLife Australia Photography Awards of fail, unsure, and pass in mind. And I was like, wow. You know, you think about your images or anybody else's images with just that criteria of fail, unsure, or pass. It was like, wow, how do I look at my own images taken from this event, first time being there? Jake had been there many times and talked about it. I've seen his gorgeous images from that event. Really nice people. They want to see images. Pressure's on. Fail, unsure, or pass. So I'm reflecting on my own images, and I'm reflecting back on what I saw in the photo contest. And I said, okay, Moose, what are you thinking about as you click through 1,600 images and you're rating them as fail, unsure, and pass? Now, 1,600, got to get that down to, of course, 1. Oh, who's going to win, right? Who's going to get that top dog award? Who's going to get the ultimate pass rating? And then by what criteria does that come to be? Wow, you know, that's hard. Now, this, as the name implies, is all about birds, but you can apply this seriously to any criteria or genre of photography. Fail, unsure, or pass, let alone your own photography. and then put yourself through the ringer. So here's what I kind of came up with as I was thinking about it and looking at it. What are, as I'm going through this qualifying round, what is it in that photograph that basically I go fail or pass? Now, why did I just not even look at unsure? Well, unsure means, at least in my book, and I could be totally wet, and I am a lot, okay. But unsure means you don't know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, why are you even doing it? Okay. So either is or isn't, fail or pass. 1,600 images, want to get down to one. Eventually. Well, my first criteria, the first, you could say, sounding board in which that image pops on the screen and I click either fail or pass, I'm going back to a standard. Now, that standard has nothing to do with exposure. It doesn't have anything to do with lens or depth of focus, but I'm going to talk about those here in a second. The standard really, and something this high stakes as you could call it just a photo contest, but it's more than that. To me is Jay Maisel's simple 3 words that I think about and I try to express and share with people whenever I can, that light, gesture, and color. So I'm looking at these photographs. So right off the bat, for myself in this process, they have to have at a minimum to get that pass. Light, gesture, and color. If they got that, boom, they get a pass. And that means they're going to go to the next round where we have to look at other criteria that kind of go up the next rung of the ladder to determine if they're going to go on to the next level. Now you might say, wow, just to move forward, you've got such an incredibly high standard? Hell yeah. Let's be honest here, right? This is about taking a photograph and saying, all these folks put all their love, their experience, their money, their time in these pictures. And in my little corner of this whole awards thing, I have 1,600 to go through. Which one is going to represent all 1,600? It's got to have everything going for it. So that means at the starting point, light, gesture, and color. So let's talk about sharpness. What about sharpness? Well, that's not even a starter. If it's not sharp, it fails. I mean, point blank, quickly. Now here's the gray area. What if it has 2 of the 3 Jay Maisel's, what you need to have an excellent photograph? Light, gesture, and color. What if I have only 2 of those? Then what? Is it automatic fail because it doesn't have all 3? Well, that's a great question. You're looking at your own images. Do you always have all 3? I can tell you for a fact, I don't. There's a lot of times I don't. I might only have 1. So if you have just one of the 3, why doesn't it automatically get a fail? Why does it get maybe an unsure, maybe a pass? Well, photography, there is not one thing carved in stone other than if you don't get out of bed, you're not going to have any pictures. That's carved in stone. Past that, hey, the sky is literally the limit. So you have just 1 or 2. How does it get the pass as far as I am concerned in this award program? Well, there's a couple of things I take into consideration in that process. One is, did you take something that's very common and make it uncommon by using one of the light, gesture, or colors? And that is, in the world of critters, that's a biggie. There's a lot of common species that do very uncommon things in uncommon ways. And if it just has a little bit of light on it, Forget the gesture or the color, just that fact it's uncommon makes it a pass as far as I'm concerned. Maybe not a winner, but definitely a pass. What else could fall in there? Well, I could spend hours listing the possibilities. How do you start to know those possibilities? Well, you have to shoot a lot. And then when you shoot a lot, you have to look at your images a lot. And you look at your images a lot, you have to be, I don't want to say hard on yourself. I don't want to say critical because I don't like where that takes people. But you have to be honest with yourself. And you can't say, wow, just because I got it sharp, it must be good. No. No. That is not the case. You could say, well, because I got it sharp and a good exposure, it must be good. Oh, no. No, that's not the case either. Because there's some photographs that I looked at that had all three, light, gesture, and color, but the background was a brick wall. Yuck. I'm talking about literally a brick wall. So those three elements are the starting point. If you mess up the background, for myself, it's fail. I mean, it's simple. It doesn't work. You've not made the star of your photograph. You've not given them the stage to star on. How can you tell their story if that's the case? Now, if we look at this a little bit further, let's say you've got light, gesture, and color. What are other criteria, at least that I saw in the photographs I looked at, that might make it a pass or fail? Well, things that made an image fail, even though they had light, gesture, or color, one of them was lens. Now, I say lens, it's kind of an umbrella, and I'm talking about the actual way the elements are arranged, the cropping of the photograph. Whether they cropped them in the viewfinder or they cropped them in post, the image that I saw, a lot of them, and I was alarmed at this, a lot of them were so suffocating that the critter, I'm surprised they didn't turn blue and fall over and die. Sometimes the crop was so tight, they had just toothpicks for legs. They had no feet. And there was this one photograph that was stunning, but they cut off the end of the bill. I mean, how could you see that and still say, oh, the judge will like it because it has light, gesture, and color, but he's missing the end of his bill. I mean, so right off the bat, you could have those three things, but these little details, and I'm going to say lens, because I don't know if these folks did the cropping in viewfinder like I do, or they did it in post. Either case, it wasn't successful. I'm not going to even go into the awkward crops in which parts of the body are, it's really hard with critters. I mean, really hard, because there's no real book or guideline where you can, take a portrait of a critter and you can crop them at the shoulder, the waist, whatever, and it works or doesn't work. I've always called it just an awkward crop if it doesn't work. If it works, you don't even think about it. How about depth of focus? Holy moly. Now, like I mentioned many times in many different arenas, I tend to go on the shallow side depth of focus. But if you're going to have a shot of a mom with 5 kids on a branch, you better have all of those kids in focus. And if all those kids are in focus, you need to have a background that's so physically far away that it just melds into nothing. Because when either A, only the first of the 5 kids is sharp, the other 4 are out of focus, it's like, what? Those 4 are going to die? Mom only likes 1? Or the flip side, use so much depth of focus that the trash can in the background comes into play, and you can see the trash can, and it says on the sign with a little figure, place your litter here. Okay, so what? You're telling me that the mom thinks the kids are litter? So, hey, in this thing called visual storytelling, Just because you have light, gesture, and color doesn't mean you can say your subjects are disposable, okay? You got to think all those through. So I'm going through this contest. I'm looking at my own photographs from the weekend. And yeah, I think I actually started noticing a little bit of, I don't know, laziness or taking things for granted. But I didn't actually take perhaps as much time as some of my photographs that I should have. And there are elements in that frame that are not supporting not just only the story I want to tell, but the passion I want to instill about the event. So fail, unsure, or pass. They're three simple words, and keep it simple, stupid works. And if you think about them and just use that simple criteria to look at your own images in the viewfinder, I think you can elevate your photography so it goes long beyond that pass status. And that's where we want to take it. It's important. I want to thank you guys for stopping on by. I appreciate the emails and the comments and all the love notes. And remember to go out and make every click your story.